with just $200 in my pocket and a backpack of clothes after discovering I was pregnant. He didn't yell. He didn't argue. He silently tossed my belongings onto the front lawn while my mother sobbed quietly in the corner of the living room, too afraid to intervene. I didn't scream. I didn't break down. I simply watched as he methodically emptied my drawers, my sister Vanessa smirking from the staircase. One day they'd realize exactly what they'd thrown away that night. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever been betrayed by someone who was supposed to protect you. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. The truth was, there was something my parents didn't know. My boyfriend Lucas had died in a motorcycle accident just 2 weeks earlier. His last text to me from the hospital had been asking me to take care of our baby that he would never meet. But my father never gave me the chance to explain. "You've ruined your future," he spat, throwing my science textbook onto the grass. "I won't have a pregnant teenager under my roof." My mother stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. "Helena, say something," I pleaded. She looked at me, then at my father. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and turned away. That was the moment I knew I was truly alone. My sister Vanessa, 2 years younger than me, watched the whole scene unfold from the stairs. We had never been close, she was always Dad's favorite, but the small smile playing on her lips as I was being thrown out broke something inside me. It was raining lightly as I packed what I could salvage into my backpack. My father stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "Where will you go?" my mother finally asked. My father scoffed. "That's her problem now." I shouldered my backpack, looked one last time at the house where I'd grown up, and said the only words I could manage. "One day you'll realize what you threw away today." Then I walked away and never looked back. That night, I called my best friend Camilla from a payphone. My hands trembled as I inserted the quarters. I'd spent hours walking aimlessly through the neighborhood, the reality of my situation sinking in with each step. "Liv? What's wrong?" Camilla asked, immediately sensing something was off. "My dad kicked me out," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'm pregnant, Cam. Lucas never knew. Where are you? I'm coming to get you right now." The hidden truth. What my father refused to hear that night was even more painful than my boyfriend's death. Lucas and I had been secretly engaged. 1 month before the accident, he had given me a simple silver ring, promising we'd tell my parents after he secured his new teaching job. That ring was now in my pocket as I sat at Camilla's kitchen table, her mother Helena making hot chocolate with shaking hands. "Olivia, you're not alone," Helena said, wrapping her arms around me. "We'll face this together." That was the first time I cried since leaving home. I pulled out the ultrasound from my wallet, the 12-week scan my father had torn in half before throwing me out. A piece of paper representing the only part of Lucas I had left, besides a digital photo saved on my old cell phone. "He never even knew about the baby," I whispered, my voice breaking. "He died thinking we had our whole lives ahead of us." Camilla held my hand tightly. "What about Lucas's parents? Could they help?" I shook my head. "They're devastated. Moving to Florida next month. They offered to help, but they can barely function right now." That night, sleeping on Camilla's floor, I made a decision. I wouldn't beg my family to take me back. I wouldn't break. I would build something new from nothing. The next morning, I applied for jobs at every cafe or restaurant and store within walking distance. By afternoon, I had a position at a local coffee shop that didn't mind my growing belly. The manager, Rosa, had been a teen mom herself. $8.50 an hour, plus tips, she said. Not much, but it's a start. I worked double shifts whenever possible. Every penny went into a jar labeled future. On weekends, I baked cakes for extra income, a skill my grandmother had taught me before she passed. 6 months later, I had saved enough for a room in a shared house. $650 a month, including utilities. Not much, but mine. I enrolled in night school to finish my high school diploma, lugging my 8-month pregnant belly to class after working all day. My classmates stared. My teachers whispered. I kept my head high. "Aren't you exhausted?" Camilla asked one Sunday, watching me study while baking cupcakes for a customer. I looked up from my calculus homework. "Every day. But what's the alternative?" She had no answer. Lucas's parents visited once before moving. His mother cried when she saw my belly, touching it gently. "He would have been so proud," she whispered. They gave me $1,000 before leaving all they could spare after funeral costs. I tried to refuse, but his father insisted. "You're carrying our grandchild," he said. "Family helps family." Words my own father should have said. 2 days after finishing my last exam, my water broke. I was alone in my rented room when the first contraction hit. I called Camilla, then took a taxi to the hospital. $32.75, nearly a day's wages, but I couldn't wait for a ride. "Family?" the intake nurse asked. "Just me," I replied. Building from zero. My son Miguel was born on a spring morning, with Lucas's exact eyes. I held that tiny miracle in my arms and promised he would never feel rejected like I had. No family members came to the hospital. I sent my mother a short text. Your grandson was born today. 7 Albs, 2 O's. Healthy. Her response came hours later. I'm glad you're both okay. Your father isn't ready yet. As if 9 months wasn't enough time to accept reality. I learned later that my mother had tried to visit, but my father threatened divorce. Her cowardice hurt almost as much as his cruelty. Are you still with me? Comment fighter, if you've ever had to rebuild your life from scratch. The strength you find in those moments changes you forever. Managing motherhood while pursuing education proved challenging. Thankfully, the university where I'd earned a scholarship had a program for student mothers with subsidized childcare, $250 monthly instead of the usual $850, still steep but manageable with my calf job and weekend cake business. Helena watched Miguel during evening classes. I formed a support network with 3 other single mothers from my program. We traded babysitting hours when one needed extra work shifts. By Miguel's first birthday, I had a routine. Wake at 5 a.m., study until 7 a.m., drop Miguel at daycare, work until 4 p.m., pick up Miguel, study during his naps, sleep at midnight, repeat. I didn't date. I didn't party. I didn't have time for anything beyond survival and creating a future for my son. You need to live a little, Camilla would say, visiting from her college across town. I'd smile, bouncing Miguel on my hip. I am living, just differently than planned. On Miguel's first birthday, I received a card in the mail, no return address, but I recognized my mother's handwriting. Inside was a $100 bill and a note. For Miguel, don't tell your father. I used the money to open a college fund for my son. $100 wasn't much, but it was something. A beginning. The following years blurred together in a haze of work, study, and motherhood. I graduated with honors in business administration. My professors, impressed by my determination, recommended me for an internship at a digital marketing firm. I learned every aspect of the business, staying late after everyone left, absorbing knowledge like oxygen. The CEO noticed. Most interns count minutes until they can leave, he said. You count minutes until you can learn more. By 25, I was account manager with a salary that allowed us to move to our first decent apartment. $1,750 monthly luxury compared to the $600 room we'd shared before. Miguel started kindergarten, smart, compassionate, with Lucas's musical talent and my determination. Mommy, where's your mommy and daddy? He asked once. My heart clenched. They live far away, sweetheart. Are they coming to my school play? I kissed his forehead. No, baby, but I'll be there in the front row. No phone calls, no visits, no family except the one we created ourselves. Years of silence. During those years, I received exactly 3 messages from my family. A birthday card when Miguel turned 1, secretly sent by my mother. A text from Vanessa asking to borrow $5,000 when she had financial problems, which I ignored. And a call from my father when Miguel was 5. During that call, he didn't mention his grandson or apologize. He coldly informed me he had rewritten his will, officially removing me as heir to the family home valued at $450,000, transferring everything to Vanessa. Just informing you for legal reasons, he said. Thanks for letting me know, I replied, then hung up. His call didn't hurt as much as I'd expected. I'd already mourned the loss of my family years ago. My 30th birthday marked an unexpected milestone. The marketing agency's founder was retiring and offered to sell me a 10% stake in the company. $65,000, my entire savings plus a small business loan. You've earned this, he said. You understand this business better than people who've been here 20 years. I signed the papers with steady hands, thinking of the terrified 17-year-old girl I'd once been. At home that night, I showed Miguel the contract. Does this mean we're rich? He asked, now 8 and full of questions. I laughed. No, buddy. It means we have a stake in our future. Months later, scrolling through social media, I saw Vanessa had gotten married. White dress, beaming smile, my parents on either side, the perfect family portrait. My finger hovered over the like button before I closed the app. Their life had continued without me, as mine had without them. Miguel excelled in school. His teachers praised his math skills and kindness. He looked increasingly like Lucas, a fact that both warmed and pained my heart. Mom, Josh from school has 2 grandfathers. Do I have grandfathers? He asked one day after school. I sat him down and showed him the restored photo of Lucas I'd preserved all these years. This was your father, I said. He would have loved you very much. What about your dad? I chose my words carefully. Sometimes families have complicated relationships. Maybe someday you'll meet him. Miguel nodded, wise beyond his years. That's okay. We're good, just us. By the time Miguel turned 10, I'd increased my ownership in the agency to 25%. When the founder fully retired, I became CEO. The company had grown under my leadership, our client list doubling in 3 years. Have you ever noticed how success seems to reach the eyes and ears of those who once doubted you? Keep watching to see what happened when my family finally noticed mine. The rise. At 27, I identified an opportunity in the digital marketing landscape. Small local businesses were being overlooked by larger agencies. With $65,000 in savings and loans, I launched my own company, Phoenix Digital. The name was obvious. Rising from ashes was my specialty. Year 1, I worked from home. Year 2, I hired 3 employees. Year 3, we moved into downtown office space with a team of 12. Phoenix Digital became the go-to agency for family businesses needing digital transformation. Miguel, now 10, grew into a brilliant, compassionate boy. He knew about my parents, but never negatively. I always told him, "Your family is small, but full of love." When he asked about his father, I showed him Lucas's professionally restored photo and shared stories about his love for music and dreams of teaching. I never allowed bitterness to poison my son. That was my greatest act of resistance against the hatred my father tried to plant. The local business journal ran a feature on women entrepreneurs transforming the city. There I was, on page 3. Olivia Carter, 30, CEO of Phoenix Digital. From single teenage mother to business owner employing 15 local residents. I framed it and hung it in my office, not from vanity, but as a reminder of distance traveled. That same month, I purchased my first home, $455,000 in a neighborhood with excellent schools, 3 bedrooms, a backyard for Miguel, and a home office for late nights. The mortgage officer who had denied me a loan 3 years earlier now handled my paperwork personally. "Quite a turnaround, Ms. Carter," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Life takes unexpected turns," I replied, signing with the silver pen Miguel had given me for Christmas. We moved in on a Saturday. Miguel ran from room to room, claiming spaces. "Mom, I have my own bathroom. Is this really ours?" he asked that night as we sat on our empty living room floor eating pizza. "All ours," I confirmed. "No one can take it away." I didn't mention that we lived just 15 minutes from my parents' house. I'd chosen the location for the school district, not proximity to ghosts. By my 32nd birthday, Phoenix Digital had expanded again. We opened a second office in a neighboring city, 25 employees, a client waiting list, industry awards. I bought a house in an upscale neighborhood, $680,000 in the area where my parents had always dreamed of living, but never managed. Miguel, 15 now, was talented in math and music, like his father. We had created a happy, complete life together. Then, late one Tuesday afternoon, an email arrived through my company website contact form. The subject line? Family. My hand trembled as I clicked it open. The unexpected news. The email was brief. "Dad is sick. Advanced cancer. He's asking for you." My sister Vanessa had found me easily. My name and photo appeared in business magazines and on Phoenix Digital's website. She included a phone number at the bottom. I sat frozen, staring at the screen for hours. Miguel found me like that and asked what happened. When I told him, he simply said, "Mom, you always taught me forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. Maybe it's time to show that." The wisdom of this boy who never knew his grandparents left me speechless. For an entire week, I debated whether to call. This wasn't about forgiveness I'd forgiven long ago, for my own peace. It was about protection, mine and Miguel's. Finally, I decided facing my past was the last step to completely freeing myself from it. I dialed the number, expecting my father's voice. Instead, my mother answered, her aged voice breaking when she heard me. "Olivia, is it really you?" She wept openly. "Your father. He doesn't have much time. Please come see him." "Did he personally ask for me, or is this your idea?" I asked, my voice steady. "He saw your photo in the local paper last month when you won Businesswoman of the Year." This revelation didn't surprise me. He always valued status and success above all else. "I'll visit, but with 2 conditions," I said. "First, Miguel comes with me. Second, I won't pretend the last 15 years didn't happen." She agreed immediately, as she always did when caught between loyalties. That evening, I sat Miguel down to explain. "We're going to meet your grandfather tomorrow. He's very sick." Miguel looked up from his homework, his eyes so like his father's, serious. "Are you okay with that, Mom?" I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "I am if you are, but I need you to understand something. These people, they weren't kind to me when I needed them most." "Then why go?" he asked. I considered the question carefully. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't holding a grudge. It's showing people you succeeded despite them, not because of them. He nodded, understanding beyond his years. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stood at my bedroom window, looking at the city lights, thinking about the 17-year-old girl who'd had nowhere to go. The single mother who'd studied with a baby on her lap. The woman who'd built a company from nothing but determination. Would any of that have happened if my father hadn't thrown me out? Drop a in the comments if you believe sometimes the worst moments in our lives lead to our greatest strengths. Sometimes our deepest wounds become our most powerful transformations. The inner confrontation. The next morning, Miguel and I drove to the house where I grew up. It seemed strangely smaller than in my memories. In the garden, the same flower beds my mother always tended, now visibly neglected. My mother opened the door before we even rang the bell. Her eyes immediately fixed on Miguel, the teenage version of Lucas, with undeniable traces of our family. "Is this," she began, hands trembling. "This is your grandson, Miguel," I said simply. The boy, now taller than his grandmother, politely extended his hand. She ignored the formal gesture and hugged him, sobbing. Over her shoulder, I saw my sister Vanessa standing in the hallway, her face a mixture of shock and what looked like guilt. She hadn't expected me to actually come, much less bring living evidence of what the family had lost. "You came," she said flatly. I nodded. "How is he?" "Dying," she replied. "Dying," the word hanging between us. My mother finally released Miguel, wiping tears. "He looks so much like Lucas," I finished. "Yes, he does." Miguel stood tall beside me, shoulders straight like I'd taught him. Pride swelled in my chest. "Where is he?" I asked. "Upstairs, in your old room," my mother answered. The irony wasn't lost on me. The room I'd been forced to leave was now his prison. "Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water?" my mother asked, falling into hostess mode as if I were a visitor, not her daughter. "We're fine," I replied. "Miguel, would you like to stay downstairs or come up?" "I'll come with you." "Mom," he said immediately. As we climbed the familiar stairs, memories flooded back. Homework at the kitchen table. Christmas mornings. The night I was thrown out. My mother followed behind us, chattering nervously. "We converted your room when he got too sick for the stairs. The hospital bed wouldn't fit in our bedroom." I stopped at the doorway, steeling myself. The room looked nothing like the teenager's sanctuary it had once been. Medical equipment, medication bottles, the unmistakable smell of illness. The man in the bed was merely a shadow of the authoritarian patriarch who had expelled me, thin, jaundiced, with oxygen tubes. His eyes opened when I entered. First confused, then widening when he saw Miguel behind me. "Who?" His voice was a harsh whisper. "This is Miguel, your grandson," I said calmly. "Son of Lucas, who died a month before you threw me out. The fiancé you never met because you didn't give me a chance to explain." The silence that followed was deafening. I saw the exact moment understanding hit his eyes. 15 years of regret concentrated in a single instant. The return. "Vanessa, Helena, leave us," my father requested with what little strength he had. When we were alone, he gestured for me to come closer. Miguel stood protectively at my side. "I was wrong," he said, each word a visible effort. Stupid pride, fear of what others would say, lost everything. There was no satisfaction in seeing this broken man confess his mistakes, only a profound sadness for time wasted. "Why now?" I asked. "Because you're dying?" He shook his head weakly. "Saw your company in the paper last month. Businesswoman of the year, your photo." Realized what I threw away. The truth finally emerged. It wasn't moral remorse, but admiration for my success. He would have continued ignoring me if I were still the pregnant girl working in cafes. "When I changed the will years ago, never imagined how much you'd achieve alone. This revelation should have hurt. But instead, it freed me." "Miguel," I said, "could you give us a minute?" My son squeezed my hand before leaving. Once alone, I looked directly at my father. "I didn't come for your approval or your money. I came because Miguel deserves to know his family, even the parts that are flawed. And because holding on to anger only hurts me, not you." He closed his eye, tears leaking from the corners. "I never got to meet Luke," he whispered. "No, you didn't. He was kind, brilliant, and would have been an amazing father. Miguel has his eyes and his talent for music." My father's hand reached for mine. I hesitated. "Forgiveness doesn't mean what you did was okay," I said quietly. "It means I'm not carrying the weight of it anymore." When Miguel returned, I asked if he wanted to know anything about his grandfather. My son, always thoughtful, sat on the edge of the bed. "What was my mom like when she was my age?" he asked. A faint smile crossed my father's face. "Stubborn, smart, always stood up for what she believed in. That hasn't changed," Miguel said, looking at me with pride. After 30 minutes, I could see my father tiring. We said goodbye, promising to return in a few days. Downstairs, my mother waited anxiously. "Will you come back?" she asked, hope and fear mingling in her voice. "Yes," I said. "Not for you or for him, for Miguel and for me." As we walked to the car, Miguel took my hand. "You okay, Mom?" I looked back at the house, then at my son. I'm better than okay. I'm free. The silent room. After our first visit, Miguel and I returned twice weekly. Each time, I noticed my father's deterioration, the cancer advancing relentlessly. What surprised me was Miguel's ease with him. They developed their own relationship, separate from the painful history between us. Grandpa showed me how to play chess today, Miguel told me during one drive home. He says I'm a natural. I smiled, pushing down the complex emotions. Your father was excellent at chess too. During our fourth visit, I arrived to find Vanessa's car missing. She had a spa appointment, my mother explained, not meeting my eyes. Couldn't reschedule. The truth became increasingly clear. Vanessa rarely visited. She appeared when she needed money or when my presence forced her hand. Upstairs, my father seemed more alert than previous visits. Vanessa tells me your company is doing well, he said, while Miguel set up the chessboard. Phoenix Digital has grown beyond my expectations, I replied neutrally. Named it after the bird that rises from ashes, he observed. Appropriate. For the first time, I saw recognition in his eyes of what he'd done not just to me, but to himself. He'd lost 15 years with a grandson who excelled at everything he touched. After chess, Miguel went downstairs for a snack, leaving us alone. I need to ask you something, my father said, his voice stronger than I'd heard it. What is it? The house. After I'm gone, your mother can't afford to maintain it. I cut him off. I'm not here for inheritance or property. I know, he said. That's why I'm asking. Vanessa will want to sell immediately. She's already talking to realtors. This didn't surprise me. What do you want me to do? Nothing, just look after your mother. The request hung between us, not redemption, just simple human concern. I'll make sure she's taken care of, I said finally. He nodded, closing his eyes. The irony isn't lost on me. The daughter I threw away is the only one I can count on. Later that night, my mother pulled me aside as Miguel loaded chess pieces into the car. Your father changed his will again last week, she whispered. He split what's left between you and Vanessa. She doesn't know yet. Mom, I don't need— It's not about need, she interrupted. It's about him trying to fix what he broke. Let him have that. On the drive home, Miguel was unusually quiet. What are you thinking about? I asked. Grandpa asked me about Dad today. I showed him the picture you gave me. My heart tightened. What did he say? He said he was sorry he never got to meet him, and that he was sorry for a lot of things. I reached over and squeezed my son's hand, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. The confession. My father's condition deteriorated rapidly in the following weeks. During one visit, we found a hospice nurse had been hired. The end was near. Vanessa suddenly appeared regularly, displaying a daughter's devotion that had been absent for months. She made a show of adjusting pillows and checking medication, always when the hospice nurse was watching. You've done so well for yourself, she said one afternoon while my father slept. Must be nice to afford designer clothes and luxury cars. I glanced at my modest watch and simple clothes. Is that what you think I spend my money on? She shrugged. I've been here taking care of them while you built your perfect life. Before I could respond, my mother entered the room. Vanessa, enough lies. To my surprise, she found her voice at last. In the years with my father growing weaker, she had gradually begun standing up for herself. Your sister deserves the truth. You barely show up except when you need money. You received $450,000 when your father transferred the inheritance to you and burned through it in 5 years on cars and trips. Now we have $175,000 in medical debts not covered by insurance, and you're planning to sell the house the moment he's gone. Vanessa stormed out, slamming the door. My mother collapsed into a chair, shaking. I should have spoken up 15 years ago, she whispered. Maybe things would be different. I sat beside her. Maybe. Maybe not. That night, my father asked to speak with me alone. Vanessa was always easier to love, he confessed, his voice barely audible. She needed me. You were always so self-sufficient. That doesn't justify what you did, I said quietly. No, nothing does. He paused, gathering strength. When you were thrown out, I thought I was protecting the family reputation. What would people think, my teenage daughter pregnant? But in trying to preserve appearances, I destroyed what mattered. His hand sought mine in the dim light. The day you left, you said we'd realize what we threw away. You were right. I threw away my chance to know my grandson, to see you become this remarkable woman, to meet the man who would have been my son-in-law. Tears slid down his hollow cheeks. The worst part is knowing it can never be undone. Some mistakes can't be fixed with apologies. I didn't comfort him with platitudes. Some truths need to stand without softening. No, they can't, I agreed. But we can move forward from here. He nodded, exhausted by emotion and illness. Would you bring Miguel in? I'd like to give him something. When Miguel entered, my father handed him a small wooden box. Chess set I've had since I was your age, he explained. Thought you might want it. Miguel opened the box, revealing hand-carved pieces. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "I'll take good care of it." "I know you will," my father replied. "You're like your mother that way, taking care of things that matter." It was the closest thing to a compliment he'd ever given me. The truth about Vanessa. After that conversation with my father, I found Vanessa in the kitchen. She seemed out of place, nervously checking her expensive phone that contrasted with the deteriorating state of the house. "So, heard you've become a successful businesswoman," she began, trying to sound casual. "Meanwhile, I've been stuck here taking care of them." The lie was so obvious I almost laughed. "That's not how Mom tells it," I replied calmly. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Mom's confused. She mixes things up. Like how you burned through $450,000 in 5 years? Or how you're already talking to realtors about selling this house." She flushed. "You don't understand what it's been like here. I deserve that money after everything." "After what exactly? Being the favorite? Never facing consequences? Tell me, what's been so hard for you, Vanessa?" She stood suddenly, knocking over her chair. "You think you're so perfect with your company and your perfect kid. You have no idea what pressure I've been under trying to live up to their expectations of me after you left." For the first time, I glimpsed the real damage. While I'd been freed to build my own life, Vanessa had remained trapped in our parents' expectations, forever trying to fill the void I'd left. "I never wanted their money," I said quietly. "I just wanted them to accept me and my child." "Well, congratulations. Dad's dying, and you're still the center of attention." She grabbed her purse. "I'm going out." My mother entered as Vanessa stormed past her. "She's always been like this," she sighed. "Even as a child, we indulged her too much after you left. I think we were trying to compensate for losing you." I helped her clean up the kitchen, working in silence. "The medical bills," I finally said. "We're drowning," she admitted. "The house is worth about $390,000 now. Needs work. After we pay off the medical debt, there won't be much left." I didn't offer money. I didn't offer to buy the house. Instead, I offered something more valuable. "Mom, would you like to come to dinner at our house next Sunday? See where Miguel and I live?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I'd like that very much." That weekend, she came to our home for the first time. She wandered through rooms, touching photos, examining the life we'd built without her. "You've done so well," she whispered. "Without any help." "Not without any help," I corrected. "Camilla's family, my colleagues, friends. I had support, just not family support." She nodded, understanding the distinction. "I've been a coward my whole life," she confessed. "Too afraid to stand up to your father. Too afraid to lose Vanessa if I reached out to you." "And now?" I asked. "Now I'm too afraid of dying without knowing grandson." She looked at Miguel, playing piano in the living room. "He has Lucas's talent." "Yes," I said. "He has the best parts of both of us. The true success." My father passed away 3 months after our reconciliation, with Miguel holding his hand. In his rewritten will, he divided what little remained equally between Vanessa and me, with a letter asking forgiveness. The true inheritance, however, was the recovered time, not completely. It could never be, but enough to heal some wounds. If you've stayed with me through this entire story, comment "full circle" below. Sometimes life brings us back to where we started, but as completely different people. My mother now visits our home on Sundays. After selling the house for $390,000, well below market value due to its deteriorated condition, I helped her find a suitable apartment for $1,500 monthly near us. Vanessa disappeared again after receiving her share from the house sale, approximately $107,500 after paying medical debts. But I left the door open. The revenge many would expect, throwing my success in their faces, denying them access to the grandson they rejected, leaving them in poverty, would only have perpetuated the cycle of pain. My true victory was building a fulfilling life despite them. And then, when the moment came, showing the capacity for compassion they didn't have for me. Justice didn't come as retribution, but as contrast. While they lost 15 precious years with an amazing grandson due to pride and prejudice, I gained a life of independence, success, and above all, integrity. Recently, Miguel asked me a question that stopped me in my tracks. "Mom, are you glad Grandpa threw you out back then?" I considered his question carefully. "No, I'm not glad it happened that way, but I'm proud of who I became because of it. Sometimes life's worst moments force us to discover strengths we never knew we had." He nodded thoughtfully. "You always say forgiveness is for us, not for them." "That's right. Holding on to anger only poisons you, not the person who hurt you." As I watched my son, this remarkable young man raised on love instead of bitterness, I realized the most important lesson I taught him wasn't through words but actions. Sometimes the best response to cruelty isn't more cruelty, but refusing to let it define who you become. This isn't a revenge story. It's a rescue story not of them, but of myself. Before you go, hit that subscribe button if you want more real stories about finding strength in difficult situations. And remember, sometimes the family you create is more powerful than the one you were born into.
Emily Dawson, 33. And until last Christmas, I believed my family was unshakable. Then my phone lit up with a voicemail from